there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey to men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Or in fact, any of the topics which we cover here which will help you on your journey to Chap Nirvana. Now, am I a chap? This is my series in which I invite gentlemen to send me some images of themselves and I will then pass my observations. It's kind of a review of your attire. Now there's no negativity here, I want to stress that. This is all about inspiring other people to rise to higher standards of sartorial elegance. And some of the images I get are spectacular. I have to say I've got a real backlog of images to cover on the channel. But today I'm going to go a little bit niche. I am going to do an Am I a Chap on outerwear because, you know, it's spring right now. Here in the UK, the flowers are starting to come up. The place is starting to look a little bit more green behind me. Not quite yet, but the buds are on the way. The sun, that big fiery ball in the sky, is starting to make itself known more often. But it's still a time of year where tonight it's going to be -1 degrees. You know, we still get, and it's April, so we still get a little bit of temperature or reduced temperatures at night. It's going to be necessary if you're going out in the evening to be adequately prepared for the environment. So I'm going to do a video today on Am I a Chap outerwear, or basically overcoats, raincoats and things which are necessary to protect one from the elements. Now I'm going to feature some images by a very smart gentleman called Raoul, long-time supporter of the channel, always comments on the videos with such beautiful prose and comments of his own observations. So today it's my turn to turn the tables. Raoul is a man who dresses, it is fair to say, in a very classical style. I would say a bit heritage laden, in fact, rather than modern and contemporary. It works because, remember, style doesn't date, doesn't go out of fashion. It's not like fashion itself. This dirty word, fashion, is transitory. By this time next year, things that are fashionable now will be in the landfill. But classical style lives forever, never goes out of fashion. And if you invest in an outer garment, like an overcoat or a quality raincoat, a Macintosh of some kind, you can wear it for 50 years. And then you can pass it on to your, your offspring, and they can wear it for 50 years because it'll be well made and it'll cross the boundaries of time and space. Now, I'm going to show you Raoul, this image here of Raoul. Now, this is as you can see, this is a gentleman for whom flamboyance is a byword of the way in which he chooses his wardrobe. However, it works, all right? It doesn't look eccentric. It looks exceptionally well put together. Now, I'm not going to linger too deeply on all of these images because Raoul is a very smart dresser, and if I were to do so, I'd be here for a couple of hours. But what I'm just going to do is focus on the attire, quickly make observations on that, and then I'll really pay perhaps more attention to the outer garment. So what we have here, looking at the feet, where I always start, pair of brogues, dark in colour, but interestingly, what Raoul has done here is he's placed some contrasting colour laces into those shoes, which draws the eye. Now, a dark, maybe a black brogue, I guess it is, doesn't really capture your excitement, but a little change of colour on the lace adds a little personality to one's outfit. Now, looking at the suit itself, what we can see is a classic double-breasted pinstripe suit in a navy colour. Trousers fit superbly, as one would expect from a man who dresses in this manner. The break of the trousers is halfway down the lacing system, which is where I would always seek for my trousers to end. Looking at the accessories, Raoul is wearing very fancy, look like unlined grey leather gloves. Very nice, like them. I'm a big fan of unlined leather gloves myself. Maybe setting him apart from practically every other chap in the street will be that walking cane which he has, silver head to it, very fancy indeed. Sadly, very rarely seen in the modern world, but certainly a throwback to a bygone era. Looking up the body, accessories always draw the eye. Pocket square, sort of a silver coloured pocket square, in keeping with the gloves for sure. the lace in the shoes as well. A boutonniere, which can't quite see the textures of it, but certainly again in keeping with the colour, as is the tie. As you can see, the tie worn at the collar. What we see with the shirt is a contrasting collar shirt, I think often referred to as a Winchester shirt, white collar with blue, looks like Bengal stripes of some kind, but again very, very interesting and attractive, and the colour is carried through from the pocket square, the boutonniere, the gloves, the laces and the tie. And I can just notice now that there is a tie pin as well. These little pieces of attention to detail make all of the difference. Now, I can't quite see whether Raoul is wearing a scarf there. I can see just something running down in a linear way to the lapel, but yeah, very nice. And on the top of one's head, a fedora, of course. So yeah, lovely, not too fancy, you know, not as maybe striking as a Homburg, but certainly a hat which would pass very nicely in the street. And I love the moustache, of course. The little gentleman has put a bit of effort into the moustache. Now we're here to talk about the overcoat today, or the raincoat. What we're looking at here, I believe, is a double-breasted raincoat, and yeah, worn over the shoulders in sort of nonchalant cloak-like fashion. A beautiful colour, a blue, in keeping with the suit and the other colours worn today, the stripes on the shirt and so on. Now, when buttoned up, that sort of overcoat, raincoat would afford you great protection from the rain with that fedora hat, meaning you could batten yourself down and take on the elements. This is a really good execution, I think, of how a raincoat can add a lot of panache and style to a gentleman's outfit. Okay, so let's stay with our battle to keep the rain off, and let's have a look at what a gentleman would possibly wear on a spring day like today. Not too cold, but you're likely to encounter a bit of rain. And let us see what's on the feet. Here we see a pair of nice shoes. Again, let's have a look, bit of broguing going on there, I see, just about in an Adelaide style perhaps. And again, contrasting colour on the laces. Now, I know that Raoul is an artisan shoemaker, a craftsman, and he tells me he has made these shoes himself. Well, I tell you, Raoul, they are a credit to your skill, sir. They look great. And I love the habit you have, something I do as well, of putting a contrasting coloured shoelace in. Now, moving up the body, we see, I think it's a navy pair of slacks of some kind. Good length, finishing as they do midway down the lacing system. And in contrast to that, we see a double-breasted, looks like a cotton, or yeah, I'd say cotton, not linen, jacket. An odd jacket of some kind in a khaki colour, which is a good versatile coloured garment, ideal to wear in the spring when the weather starts to change for the better, because it makes you look summer-like. Moving up the body, I can see that there's a pocket square in a floral pattern worn in a peak, which is not the same, but it is in keeping with the cravat which is worn at the collar of the white shirt, which is highly attractive on the eye, to my eyes. A boutonniere, a flower, could even be a real flower. Not quite sure there, but looks the part. Nice bit of colour, draws the eye, which is what we want with our accessories. Gloves, looks like a peccary leather pair of gloves. Very smart, sir. Serious attention to detail. Are they dents? I'm not sure, but if they are dents gloves, you've really nailed it. And a walking cane, again, looks the part. Atop the head, I'm not sure, could be a fedora, could be a Homburg. I think it's a Homburg, but a beautiful hat in keeping with the style of one's clothing. But as ever, we're here to talk about the outerwear today, and this is a classic gentleman's raincoat, which as soon as you see the lining, I'm sure many of you will identify it's a Burberry. Now, Burberry, of course, long-lasting traditional British raincoat makers. They make raincoats for you know, the military in years gone by, and they are synonymous with class and quality, still producing strongly today. But that checked pattern on the lining is a dead giveaway that what we have here is a Burberry World War I trench style raincoat in a double-breasted fashion. And as you can see, it's got buttonholes running up the lapels, meaning that this garment can be buttoned right up to the neck. That way you are absolutely protected against the elements. There's even the little latches at the collar to make sure that the neck of the garment can be cinched up tight and no rain is getting in there. Classic look, the khaki, the beige coloured overcoat, raincoat rather, and the Burberry as well, superb. Now, staying with that Burberry overcoat, I've just noticed that Raoul has graced us with a second picture of it, and here we see him perhaps less away from the city, as we can see in the country, adopting a different style of attire. And this is showing how versatile actually a beige coloured overcoat can be, because it's classically elegant when worn with perhaps more formal attire, however, can easily be flexible enough to be worn in the country. And this is a good example. So looking at this outfit here, I mean, I'm not going to focus on perhaps the shoes and things like that, but, you know, a brown trouser, the Burberry overcoat with a polo neck or a roll neck sweater and the newsboy cap looks totally different, but still protected and elegant. And now we get a better look of that Burberry overcoat. Here we can see it with its waistband and also the epaulets on display, giving it that formal, excuse the aircraft, giving that slightly more formal uniform look, which I think is a really good example of how this garment can be worn across different genres of your clothing with ease. So when you make the investment, it's not just going to be worn with your suits. It can be worn with casual attire, it can be worn in the country and equally in the city. So yeah, great rendition. Okay, I've saved Raoul's best until last. You're going to like this one. Maybe a little bit too much showman-like for many of us. However, I like it. And it's maybe something I could happily wear around the streets of London. Maybe not in my own town, which is a little smaller and a little bit more casual in its manner, but certainly big cosmopolitan city, you could pull this one off. Let's have a look at what Raoul has got from the ground up here. And good shoes, I like these. What we see here is a pair of oxblood double monk straps with, am I right in seeing there? You got a little bit of broguing on the medallion of the shoe. I really like it. Now, Raoul has pointed out to me that the break of the trouser doesn't look right in the image because he was trialling a new pair of suspenders, braces, which had cinched the trousers up a little higher, so he just had to adjust those braces where the break would make them fit perfectly. But yeah, that's given. But beautiful shoes. I love oxblood. My observation here, Raoul, what's wrong with the mirror shine, my friend? Let's get those shoes gleaming, shall we? So moving up the body, what we can see, I think it's dark trousers, hard to tell because they're in shadow for me, but what we see at the upper half of the body is a 3-button single-breasted jacket of some kind, presumably matching with the trousers. Classic, elegant, yes, but let's make no mistake about it, the standout item that we're looking at here today is the overcoat, which is very, very obviously embellished by a beautiful fur collar. Now, Raoul has been at pains to tell me that this is in fact a faux fur collar. So for those of you who are out there who do not agree with the slaughter of animals for the manufacture of clothing, well, you know, you don't have to worry here. This is imitation fur, and as often is the case with many such garments as this, the fur collar is removable. You just button them on, take them off if you don't wish to have that very lavish embellishment on your clothing. In this instance, what we see though, from what I can see anyway, is a nice dark charcoal grey overcoat. Looks to be single. Is it single or double-breasted? I beg your pardon, double-breasted. The way that the garment has draped makes it almost perhaps impossible to see, but it seems to be double-breasted. And yeah, it looks to be thick wool, which is of course what one wants on a cold winter's day. Classic length, well below the knee, as you can see, just maybe 3 inches, 4 inches above the shoe, so you know you're going to be protected from the elements. I love that red lining inside that overcoat. You know, when the overcoat flaps in the wind and you see that lining, for me, that red, that luscious red colour suggests luxury, and yeah, it just works entirely for me. I really like the combination of that that strong colour underneath what is in essence quite a neutral colour, of course, charcoal grey. And of course your eyes are immediately drawn to that collar. Now many will say, "Oof, I couldn't wear that. That is outrageous." You know, it is frivolous to the point of eccentricity. Yeah, I go with that, but now and again a little bit of, you know, outrageousness doesn't harm anybody when it comes to style. It'll certainly get you remembered. Looking at the other accessories, again, silver topped walking cane. On the hands, in keeping with the colour of the shoes, I love to see a man who knows the details. We have a burgundy colour unlined leather glove again. Classic, love it. One of my favourite types of glove, these, but particularly in that colour, which is very flexible. Winchester shirt with white collar, formal cravat. We see the classic ecru scarf displayed as well, which is, you know, so gentlemanly. And atop the head, it's a Homburg hat, but a couple of, I think Raoul has told me here that he has added those fedora style dents at the front, at the crown of the hat, just to give it some character. And it works too. That colour grey fits in perfectly on the hat with the rest of the outfit. Absolutely classic. I love it. Yes, it's totally Bond villain, but it works. You know, it works when taken into account with all of the other accessories as well. So there we go. That was Raoul and his demonstration of how a gentleman can dress well in winter. Now there's another gentleman I'm going to share with you here, because another chap sent me a lovely image of himself in a winter overcoat, and it's so classic I want to share it with you. Now the gentleman's name, James Bond. Can't fault that, can you? Hey? And, you know, start with the shoes. We've got a pair of black cap to Oxfords, charcoal grey shoes. But moving up into the overcoat here, what we see is a really classic Crombie style overcoat in a very flexible charcoal grey or so colour, which has the placket which hides the buttons, so that, you know, you're all sort of snug in there, and the storm flap with the hidden placket. And the thing that really draws the eye with this one is the collar with black velvet. So that little bit of contrast adds a lot to this overcoat. As you can see, it's rarely, you don't see this all that often, it's an overcoat which features a breast pocket, which gives you an opportunity. So it doesn't happen very often, you'd be foolish not to. You have to wear a pocket square. So if you have an overcoat with a breast pocket, it's mandatory. Folks, you have to wear a pocket square, on my orders. And here, Mr. Bond has elected to wear a nice blue pocket square, which adds a bit of colour, doesn't it? You know, it would be a drab outfit. You would say charcoal grey, it is bereft of colour, but a little coloured pocket square draws the eye for sure. And then when we edge over, we see a Winchester shirt again, so white collar with the blue body of the shirt, which again ties in with that pocket square, and a hand-tied bow tie, classically elegant. I like it. And atop the head, you cannot go wrong. My favourite, a black bowler hat. What a classic look. My only observation to Mr. Bond here would be the sleeves of the overcoat are a touch long. They are well covering the majority of the thumb. I would suggest we pop along and see a tailor, and we have that sleeve maybe just raised half an inch or so. Let the tailor give advice. Whilst it's very protective, it makes it look a little bit too long on the sleeve, but that would be a minor cost, and you would have an overcoat there which is remarkably smart, I would say. Wear that anywhere and it's going to look great. And again, as you can see, well beyond the knee, as all good overcoats should be. Anything which isn't beyond the knee in length doesn't really afford you the protection an overcoat should. But in this instance, well beyond the knee, meaning that you are going to give those elements a slap in the face when they come calling. So very classic look. Thank you indeed for sending the images in. So there we go, gentlemen. Today we've seen two gentlemen who have shown us that you can wear outerwear with style and panache. So do not let the elements hold you back. They do not have to dilute your personal style. And particularly some of the outfits we saw there from Raoul really said, You know, I am an elegant man and I don't care what the weather's doing. And that fur collar, really envious of that one. Love that one. So I hope you've enjoyed the gentleman today. If you'd like to feature on the Am I a Chap series, all you have to do is send me a high quality head to toe image of yourself in as much definition as possible, because obviously I'm going to share it with the chaps on the channel. And if you do that, send it to my email address. My email address will be on the screen now, or you can find it in the About tab on the main YouTube page. Now, if you'd like to see more like this, click the red button and subscribe. If you'd like to show your appreciation, click that thumb button. If you'd like to support the channel, you can either buy us a coffee or you could join me as a patron. And my patrons get their own special videos, as well as you will see their names at the end of this video. And all of the instructions on how to access that are in the show notes below. So until the next time, I have to say the gentlemen I've seen today have been total chaps, and my salute is in honour of both Rowell and Mr. Bond. So until the next time, take care, and I will see you again very soon.